You wake up. You are thirsty. There is no tap, no bottle, no river nearby. Just open land, two predators in the distance. And a puddle of brown water that something died next to yesterday. That is your only option. What do you do? This wasn't a worst-case scenario for ancient humans. This was a part of routine. Today I will explain what ancient humans actually drank, why it should have killed every single one of them, and why your body still carries the memory of every drop they swallowed. To understand what they drank, you first need to understand what they were working with. There was no clean water, not anywhere, not even close. Every water source on Earth in 300,000 BC shared a few things in common. Number one were the rivers. Every animal within 100 miles used the same river. Whatever died upstream floated past you while you drank, and whatever was hunting in it didn't care that you were thirsty. Number two were the standing pools. Warm, still, brown, covered in insects, a bacteria paradise. The longer water sits still in heat, the more things grow in it that want to grow in you. On number three was rainwater. The cleanest option when it came, which it didn't for months at a time. And when it did, you caught it in whatever you had, cupped hands, animal skins, hollowed bone, you drank what you caught, that was it. The last one was a comparatively clean option, and underground springs. Rare, cold, sometimes clean, and fought over more viciously than any piece of land. If your tribe found a spring, you didn't share it, you guarded it with your life. Sometimes you died doing exactly that. There was no safe choice, there was only, less likely to kill you today. So what did they actually drink? Well, the answer is not that simple. The most common and easiest method was muddy river water, which was filtered through their hands. They pressed it through grass, through packed leaves, sometimes through layers of animal fur. This removed some of the visible particles, not the invisible ones, but some of the visible ones, and that was the safety standard of a drinking water back then. The second method was not that gross, but definitely was a lot time-consuming. It was dew droplet collection. The dew that was gathered on leaves and grass all night was gathered in the early morning, making it the cleanest water available, also the slowest. A full morning's collection for a few mouthfuls. You did this before hunting, before moving, before everything else. The next method was not for the weak, but guess what? There was no weak thousands of years back, and this method is the evidence of it. Animal blood. Not as a ritual, but as drinking source, just like water. Fresh animal blood is approximately 70% liquid, carries nutrients, salts, everything the body needs in a kill. In dry seasons when water was completely gone, this kept the tribe alive. They didn't think of it as drinking blood, they thought of it as surviving the dry season. Number four was fermented fruit liquid, which means naturally alcoholic, which completely by accident meant the bacteria that would have made them sick had already been killed by the alcohol. They had no idea why fruit juice that had been sitting in the sun tasted slightly different and made fewer people sick. They just knew it did, they kept drinking it, that was the discovery. The fifth method on the list was water squeezed from plants, roots, and morning bark. Knowing which plants held water and which were poisonous was not a skill you could figure out yourself. It was knowledge passed through the tribe like a password. Every elder carried a map of every safe plant they had ever found. Lose the elder, lose the map. This is why elders were protected even when they couldn't hunt. The last method was, let's say it was not a proud moment for anyone involved. In extreme dehydration, when nothing else existed, when the choice was this or death within hours, some of them drank their own urine. Modern survival guides still recommend this in certain emergencies. I don't want to go in depth, but this is real and this is what they used to do. And somehow, they survived long enough. Now the question you're probably asking, how were they not dead? All of that contaminated, warm, shared, partially filtered, blood-mixed, fermented, desperate water. How did it not kill every single one of them within a generation? Well, there are, let's say, three most reasonable reasons, and each one of them says something about you specifically. The first reason was the gut microbiome. Their gut wasn't like your gut. The ecosystem of bacteria living inside you right now is built by what you consume over your lifetime and shaped by what your ancestors consumed over theirs. Ancient humans had gut microbiomes completely unlike anything living in a human today. Built over hundreds of thousands of years of drinking exactly what we just described, their internal biology had adapted to fight the specific bacteria and parasites in their water sources. A modern human drinks what they drank and ends up in a hospital. The second reason would be the brutal filter. The infants and young children who could not handle the contamination did not survive. This is not pleasant to say, it is what happened. Every generation was a biological filter. The ones who made it to adulthood were the ones whose immune systems could handle the water. Reason 3 would be a bit sad. It was data collection. Let me make it easy for you. Every death from contaminated water was data. Where people got sick, what they drank before they got sick, which sources the tribe had been drinking from for generations without problem. All of this was memorized and passed down through live practical. The oldest member of the tribe wasn't just the most experienced hunter. They were the walking record of every water source the tribe had ever found and every source that had ever killed someone. The question of what they drank is only half the story. The other half is how they found it in the first place. In a world with no maps, no infrastructure, and no guarantees, finding water was a skill. A deep, inherited, obsessively developed skill. Here is how they did it. The first method involves following animals at dawn. Animals move toward water instinctively at first light and again at dusk. A skilled tracker could follow prey from miles away and arrive at a water source they had never found before. This method is still used by indigenous trackers today. The second method was about ability to read the land. Valleys collect water. Green vegetation in a dry landscape means water somewhere below the surface. Certain insects, gnats, midges, small flies swarm near moisture. These are not coincidences. Ancient humans cataloged every visual pattern that pointed toward water the way modern humans catalog phone notifications. Now this method was pretty basic. One dig, where rivers used to be. Dry riverbeds hold water below the surface even months after the river has stopped flowing. The water sits in the sand and rock beneath, invisible from above. Ancient humans dug for it with sticks, bones, and their hands, sometimes for hours. Sometimes they found nothing. Sometimes they found enough to keep 20 people alive for another day. Now the moment everything changed. It did not happen in a single day. It happened the way most important things in human history happened. Accidentally, over a very long time, by people who had no idea what they were doing. Here is what I believes happened. Food was cooked near fire. Water containers, animal skins, hollowed gourds, cupped rocks sat near fire because that was where the camp was. The water inside them got warm. Someone drank from the cold river, they got sick. Someone drank from the warm water pouch near the fire, they were fine. The first person watched the second person, looked at the water pouch, looked back at the river. The pattern would then got noticed probably by someone who got sick once and was paying attention to what they did differently the time they didn't. They did not know what bacteria was, they had no concept of contamination. They could not explain why water near the fire made fewer people sick. They just knew that it did, so they started doing it deliberately. They had just invented one of the most important public health discoveries in the history of our species. Water purification through boiling, without knowing a single word for what they had discovered. They just knew the people near the fire got sick less. That was enough, that was the science. Remember at the beginning, I said your body still carries the memory of every drop they swallowed. Here is what that means. The sound of running water makes you calm. That is not an aesthetic preference. Running water is oxygenated, which means it supports less bacterial growth. Still water is the danger, moving water is survival. Your brain evolved to feel relief at that sound, whereas the dark, still water makes you uneasy. Your ancient gut is sending a warning your conscious brain did not ask for and does not understand, but it is right. Same is the case for cold water, as it tastes better to you than warm water. Cold water comes from altitude. Altitude means distance from animal contamination, from low-ground bacteria, from stagnant warmth. Warm, flat water comes from lowland pools. That is where things die. Your preference for cold water is not about temperature. It is a survival signal your body has been running since before language existed. You turn on a tap every day without thinking about it. But somewhere very deep in your nervous system, a very old part of you is still relieved every single time. I drink muddy water whole life. I watch tribe member drink from wrong place. I remember, I stay near the fire. You complain when the tap water tastes slightly weird. I has a question. What is the most disgusting thing you have ever drunk because you had no choice? Tell me below. I will not judge. I has drunk worse. Subscribe so I know someone is out there. It gets lonely in the cave.